Well, hello there, this is Michael from Make It WordPress again, and it's due time for a new video. And in this video, I am going to discover Cleavr, a very clever tool to run WordPress and a lot of other applications on your own server. And if you don't know me yet, I'm Michael from Make It WordPress, and I'm on the quest to find the best for WordPress. So in this video, we'll be going through the process of provisioning WordPress on your own server using Cleavr. I will be explaining all the features of Cleavr, we'll do some performance testing, and I will also give my comments on the tool. This video is mainly meant for professionals, and you need to have some technical experience or like to dive into technical stuff. So let's go ahead and see what Cleavr is all about. So what is Cleavr all about? Well, in their own words, it's server management made easy, as you can read on cleavr.io. In other words, it makes it very easy to deploy applications such as WordPress on your own server. It helps if you have technical skills, but you don't need to do the full system administration of managing your own service, going on a command line, doing all these tasks. All these things are automated by Cleavr, which also helps to set up these applications as optimized as possible. As you can see, they support WordPress next to a whole bunch of other apps such as Laravel, Nuxt, and Node, which makes it a great tool for developing and deploying different kinds of web applications. I would really recommend to just visit the site and see what they're all about, because now we're going to what it will be. So let's log in. They recently launched new version 2 of Cleavr, which is renewed as a new design and also some new features. So we'll be using that version. And I'm logged in, and as you can see, I have already provisioned one server, and Cleavr has it really clean layout. On the left, you will find the most important settings, where you can manage your service, where you can manage deployments, which doesn't work in this version yet. It's a bit weird, where you can also manage your domains and records, a section to set up your profiles, and also to run some scripts on your server. And we'll be starting in this section connecting profiles, because Cleavr is all about connecting these profiles first, so you then can easily spin up your servers and connect all these kind of services. And what I did is that I connected it with Upcloud. It's pretty easy. Upcloud is a well-known VPS provider, which has a really good performance. Their servers are stable, they're fast, and they're also not really expensive. And it's pretty easy to connect them. You click on Add VPS Profile. You can, as you can see, you can select a couple of providers. In this case, you'll be selecting Upcloud, and then in Upcloud. For this, you need to have an Upcloud account. I already have an Upcloud account, but you can make one at upcloud.com. So Upcloud will also, this site will also explain what Upcloud actually is. But like I said, it's a server provider, and once you have an account and everything set up, you can go to People and then add a new sub account, fill in the required details, and then under permissions, it's the best way to add this IP address, which is the IP address of the Cleavr tool, and allow connections from that IP. And then create a sub account if everything is filled in, and just go back to Cleavr. As you can see, I already have a connection here. I can still edit it. So once you have set up your server provider, obviously it's also possible to add one of these other server providers, which are also quite good. You can also connect Cleavr to version control. Say you're coding GitHub or on GitLab, can be connected to Cleavr, and you can use Cleavr as a deployment tool. So you can add code to GitHub, to GitLab, push it to a repository, and then it will be deployed to an application connected on the Cleavr. Because we are focusing on WordPress now, not really on deployment, I won't be showing that process, but it's good to know that it's in there. Furthermore, it's possible to have DNS integration for Cloudflare and DigitalOcean. And if you're not familiar with Cloudflare, it's a content delivery network and a global network provider. You can also manage domains at Cloudflare. Well, I have Cloudflare already open in here, and connecting Cloudflare to Cleavr is pretty simple. You need to create an API token in your profile. You can go to it if you select your profile on the right and go to your profile home, or use your API keys, the global API key. And then you can just add it in here and go over as your profile name, which you can just pick any name you like, and then the email address you use to Cloudflare and the API key. And well, I've already been adding that, so again, I won't show how this works because it's pretty self-explanatory, but that's how easy it is to connect Cloudflare to Cleavr. And once you've connected Cloudflare, automatically all domains that are in Cloudflare will show up in here, and subsequently you can manage your records from within Cleavr. You can show that this already set up a test website, which is pointed to the IP address of my Upcloud server. Nevertheless, let's go back to what other connection protocols are there. There is also the possibility to connect it to any backup provider. So you can make backups in your applications, which I will show later. And again, you can pick up a couple of providers, which are actually the most common providers. AWS and DigitalOcean spaces, you can back up to another server you own, and also do local backups or backup to Backblaze or Wasabi. Nevertheless, I already set up a Backblaze setup. Backblaze is, I think, a very good provider, and also not very expensive. If you want to use it, you need to have an account at Backblaze, which you can find on backblaze.com, and go to B2 Cloud Storage. There you would need to go to app keys and add a new application key, and also add a bucket under buckets in here, and use these details to fill them in and set up the connection. I already did it. Again, it's not that interesting, but I just want to show you the basic process of setting this up. And at last, you can also add notifications. I didn't set it up yet, but it's really easy. You can either connect Slack or Discord, give them a name, and also paste in the webhook from Slack, which you can find in Slack. And all notifications will be sent to this webhook. And usually in Slack, a webhook connects to a Slack channel. And I guess you're already familiar with Slack, but Slack is basically a chat app in which you can have several kinds of channels. So you can, from Cleavr, you can send all notifications to a specific channel in Slack. So you will notified of any important things happening. All right. So far so good. These are the things you actually know. There's of course a profile where you can change subscriptions, add SSH keys, which you can use to log into your server, and also some other sections about help and feedback. They have a quite nice section of feedback available, but let's go to the part that's actually interesting, and that's in provisioning a new server. So the process is very easy because I already connected Upcloud, which I talked about before. It's also possible to connect a custom server, but still we are using Upcloud, and we'll be using the Frankfurt region. You can choose any of those regions where Upcloud does have servers. And now comes the nice thing, is that we can set up a server type. You can pick up several kind of applications, and basically they have a WordPress optimized server ready, which includes most of the things you want for WordPress. And you can give it a nice name. This is a default name suggested, and provision it. So there we are. The server is now provisioning. You can also see the process of provisioning. So all the steps that are taken care of. I won't be waiting for the provisioning because I already set up another server, and I will be going into that server for explaining how the whole platform works. So let's go there. All right, so this is our Sentry server on Cleavr, and I'll be going to the server settings first, and then I will be adding a new site and go to these settings. Well, on the left you can find all the several settings which are there for a server, and one of the first things which you really need, I think, is that you have real-time monitoring of your server, so you can see how much memory is still available, the CPU usage, the disk space that is used, also the uptime, how long the server is running, and also the real-time requests, which is really interesting. So if I would be visiting the site, I will be seeing a request, and there you are. I just visited the site in another browser, and you can see a couple of requests came in. Interesting to see. Furthermore, you can also see the connections to MySQL, the queries, and so forth. So it's pretty nice to see all these details, so you can have an eye on how your server is actually really doing. Then another interesting part is the services, which are here. By default, Cleavr installs these services for a WordPress website. But I added two other services which I use a lot for WordPress, which is Redis, which is an object key storage and in-memory storage, which can help for WordPress caching and optimization. Very useful platform. And also I installed PHP 7.4 because Cleavr by default installs PHP 8, but not all WordPress plugins and themes run on the newest version of PHP. So one important thing to note is that if you're running WordPress, there are a couple of settings you want to change here. And that's in Nginx. By the way, it's very easy. You can, for a lot of these settings, you can change these settings by clicking on these dots here. You can check the service, of course, and restart, start, stop it. But you can, for some of these services, you can also change some configurations by clicking this. And by default, in Nginx, you have these two configurations which you can easily change. And by default, this is set to 1 MB, which is 1 megabyte, which is really small and actually doesn't allow you to add any theme or any custom upload to WordPress. I will be showing you later on what that means. Nevertheless, it's now at a good value, and similar for PHP. If you go where PHP 7 point, you can set up the upload max file size and post max size, which allows for somewhat more room to upload themes and other things in the WordPress and plugins in the WordPress dashboard. Another nice thing is that send mail is also installed, which will help to send emails from your server, such as password reset emails in WordPress. So another section we have at the server level is system users, which allows you to add system users to your servers, and subsequently, when adding a new application, you can connect this application to the system user, and it means that that application is isolated, so only that user has access to that application. And it also means that it's more secure, because the application of one system user cannot easily access the application of another system user. So it's a good and common practice to separate applications by system user, especially if they are from different clients. Furthermore, in the server settings, there is a section with databases. There's now one database and one database user, which is used for the WordPress installation. You don't need to add them manually if you're installing WordPress, but you can still add any databases in here. By default, we're using MySQL, but if you would like to use another kind of database, we can install, for example, PostgreSQL, which is another database, or MariaDB, which is also a database. And that way, we can even have different kind of databases running on this server. Then the interesting part, the backups. These are the current backups running on the server, and you can schedule backups either for files and folders and for a database. And we'll indicate which path needed to be backed and how often it should be backed. It can even be every minute, which is really often. Nevertheless, there's also another way to add backups. And that's if you go to sites and click on the three dots on the right, is that you can schedule a backup, and this will actually backup the site or the site and database only in one go, and it's much more easy to set up. And after let's go further to the next section. This is the SSH key that you can use to SSH in your server. And well, because we're talking about phishing servers, I assume that you know what SSH is. Otherwise, there are a lot of articles about it on Google. I won't go into detail with it, but it's a technology to log into a server. And it's also possible to add cron jobs. And for WordPress, it's a good practice to add cron jobs in this way. Cron jobs are regular jobs that you want to run on a certain interval in your application. And well, for the example application, I already added a cron job in here, but it's as easy as giving it a name and then passing in the command and run as at what user you want to run and how often you want to run it. And you can change every of these frequencies as well. Furthermore, you can see all the server logs in here for the different kind of services. And at last, you can see some of the details of this server and the danger zone. Well, here you can delete the server and also actually set up what kind of upgrades you want to do, because in the end, Cleavr is managing your server, but it's your own server. It's not that some employee of Cleavr is managing your server for you. So you need to also upgrade and be aware that you need to manage your own server. And here you can set up what kind of packages you want to upgrade and how often. And at last, you can delete the server in here. And now we'll be going to looking into the process of sites. Let's just add a new one. So our new site is being added. And as you can see, you can also see the details of the installation process. And there we are, the website is running and we're having a bad gateway again. I'll be looking into that site because it's still working, and in the meantime I need to hit up the support of Cleavr and see if they're any good. So if you go to the settings of a site, you'll be seeing these different kind of sections, from authentication to staging and site details and so forth. And in this tab you can log a site, and now you need to enter a password and a username to access this site. And again, I can unlock it. And now it's available again. Very useful if you are just developing an application and don't want anyone to sneak or peek in. Furthermore, it's possible to use an existing application as a staging website. So the host.makeitwork.press will now be used as staging for Cleavr.makeitwork.press. if I click on the stage button. So the Cleavr.makeit WordPress will be the main or production site, and you can also execute a script after the synchronization has been happening from the staging environment to the production environment. And staging environment is actually a development environment where you can use, to test code, change some content, do some modifications on your WordPress installation, which are not visible on the live site. And if all is going well, you just push the staging to a live site, and you manage to do some changes without disturbing live site, and it's still updated. You can also manage the SSL certificates per application, and it's also possible to add, next to Let's Encrypt, some custom certificates or custom certificates requests. Now Let's Encrypt is running and it runs well. So furthermore, caching is set up, and Cleavr provides Nginx caching for WordPress applications, and this works really well. So let's just briefly look into that. Let's just do a couple of speed tests and also see how it is doing globally. So the average load time is around 600 milliseconds, which is not the fastest, but it's still quite good actually. And if you look worldwide, we also have a very good time to first byte, 0.022 seconds before the first response from the server is there, and this is really fast, which also indicates the way Cleavr sets up an application is really good. One downside is that globally it's a bit slow, but that's also because our server is on one location. But I have seen some other platforms which are a bit faster actually. And at last there is a test which you can use to see how well a server is doing under load, under rated stress. And for that we'll be using loader.io, which is a loading test, and I can simulate visitors or clients visiting this website. And in my testing I found out that while Cleavr, the setup by Cleavr, and a small Upcloud server of 1 core and 1 gigabytes of RAM could handle up to 1200 clients per second and still have quite fast response time. So yes, let's just run this test and see how that looks like. And there we go. As you can see, we have initially we have a really high response time, but then it goes down quickly. And this server from Upcloud, in combination with Cleavr, can easily handle 1200 concurrent clients. So 1200 requests per second without breaking a sweat. The response time is still very low, averaging about 130 milliseconds. So from a performance side, I think Cleavr is doing really well, and it's setting up a really proper setup. It runs a lot better than a couple of other control panels, and it's actually quite fast. So even out of the box, without doing too many performance optimizations. Having said that, let's go back to the features and see what we can do more in Cleavr itself. You can set up redirects. So if you go from one direction, you go to another direction. Make it even a permanent redirect. So if I would be doing this, whoops. It should add a redirect, and there we are. It redirects back to the home page it's really useful that you can do that on the application level, which is way more performant than if you would have been adding this into WordPress itself. Furthermore, you can change the Nginx configuration. So now we're getting really technical. These are the Nginx directives that Cleavr adds by default for our WordPress website, and I think it looks pretty good. What's also pretty good is that by default, if we go down a bit, we can also see that direct access to a couple of files is denied by default. So for example, you cannot upload scripts to the WordPress uploads folder, which I think is a good security practice. I think this is a very looks like a good and secure setup. Furthermore, if you go to domain analysis, you can add other domains that are tied to your installation. So if you have one domain that redirects to another domain, you need to add the alias in here. And also if you have a multi-site using a subdomain. So a WordPress multi-site is actually having multiple WordPress websites into one big site, and you can have like multiple WordPress websites under multiple subdomains. You need to add all the subdomains in here. You can rename your site, but it's not supported in here. And here are some details. You can also change the PHP version. For example, I can change it to 8.0 in here. And this goes really fast, but it will probably give an error, yes. This theme is not ready for PHP 8, so it will give an error. So I can change it back then. Somehow the update is not reflected in here. And as you can see, the site will work again. And the updating process goes really fast. And in the danger zone, you can delete the site and the database as well. So that was really a quick walk through Cleavr. It was kind of fast paced, so I hope it was clear to you. It was clear what Cleavr can do. I didn't go into full technical details of a lot of things, so if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I think it's a really nice platform, and one of the things I'm kind of positive about is how easy it is to use and add websites. Well, in our video we had a bug, but generally I found it very easy, and also that it's running quite performant, and it has most of the features I need, from staging to backups, to separating applications, to easily changing some of these configurations. So I think it's a really nice platform. I would really be using it if you're a bit technical, have experience with some server administration, and want to easily run WordPress websites with a good performance for a price that's not too high. If you don't want to manage your own servers but want a similar setup, there are a couple of good alternatives. Also, in a review that I'm going to write, I will be listing a couple of other alternatives because they're in a competitive market, but I think this is really a new interesting tool. And well, I can just say, just try it out, and you can have a 5-day trial. And I'm curious what your experience will be. So I hope you liked this video. It helps you to see what Cleavr was really about, and it will also help you to run kick-ass and fast WordPress websites. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I'll be possibly also writing an elaborate review for this platform, and that will be on my website. Thank you for watching.